Hi, this is Annie. Welcome to the Walking Word, where we go through the Bible in a year. Today we're reading Genesis chapter 11, the Tower of Babel. The whole world spoke the same language, using the same words. While men were migrating in the east, they came upon a valley in the land of Shinar. Shinar. So, if you can remember Shinar, it was one of the cities Nimrod, son of Ham, son of Noah, had conquered. So, remember the lineage of Ham was the cursed one. So, Shinar, this is somewhere in Babylon and it's chaotic, all the languages of the world. So, think of it of a city in the world where people of all tribes often meet. Mental note. So let's begin. While men were migrating in the east, they came upon a valley in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to one another, "Come, let us mold bricks and harden them with fire." They used bricks for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the sky, and so make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we shall be scattered all over the earth." The Lord came down to see the city, and the tower, and that the men had built. Then the Lord said, "If now, while they are one people, all speaking the same language, they have started to do this, nothing will later stop them from doing whatever they presume to do. Let us then go down and there confuse their language, so that one will not understand what another says." So, God is giving us a hint about humanity that when human beings come together in agreement, and this is why God is always asking for unity for believers, they, what they presume to do becomes unstoppable. Thus, the Lord scattered them from there and all over the earth, that they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the speech of all the world. And it was from that place that he scattered them all over the earth. And this is how the languages of the world was born. Yeah. So who? All languages of the world belong to who? Belong to God. The line from Shem to Abraham. This is the record of the descendants of Shem. When Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Apakshad. 200 years after the flood, Shem lived 500 years after the birth of Apakshad, and he had other sons and daughters. When Apakshad was 35 years old, he became the father of Shelah. Apakshad lived 403 years after the birth of Shelah, and he had other sons and daughters. When Shelah was 30 years old, he became the father of Eber. Shelah lived 403 years after the birth of Eber, and he had other sons and daughters. When Eber was 34 years old, he became the father of Peleg. Eber lived 430 years after the birth of Peleg, and he had other sons and daughters. When Peleg was 30 years old, take note of the age. In the 30s, in their 30s, in their early 30s, they're having children. When Peleg was 30 years old, he became the father of Reu. Peleg lived 209 years after the birth of Reu, and he had other sons and daughters. When Reu was 32 years old, he became the father of Serug. Reu lived 207 years after the birth of Serug, and he had other sons and daughters. When Serug was 30 years old, he became the father of Nahor. Serug lived 200 years after the birth of Nahor, and he had other sons and daughters. When Nahor was 29 years old, he became the father of Terah. Terah. Nahor lived 119 years after the birth of Terah, and he had other sons and daughters. When Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Terah. This is the record of the descendants of Terah. Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran became the father of Lot. Haran, Haran died before his father Terah in his native land in Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, daughter of Haran, his brother. The father of Milcah and Iscah. Sarai was barren, she had no child. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot the son of Haran, remember the one who died? And his daughter in law, Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and brought them out of Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. So Terah takes his son Abram, his son's wife Sarai, and his nephew of his deceased son Lot, and tells them and gets them out of the land of Ur, where it's the ancestral land, and sends them to Canaan and tells them to go there. But when they reached Haran, they settled there. The lifetime of Terah was 205 years. Then Terah died in Haran. In Genesis 12, in the next one, we shall discuss Abram's call and migration.